Oh.
I'm good. So, what have you been doing today?
Well, I had class early this morning. We had chem lecture, so that was really fun. It's our second week of classes, so I'm not really sure how I feel about the class yet. I just don't like how we're doing like the reverse style classroom, which means like we read the book and then he types up like notes, like his old lecture notes, and gives them to us before class. Then we get to class, we take a 4-question quiz to see if we like read it. Then we work on a worksheet with like people we sit with and whatnot. So it's a little, I don't know how I feel about it yet. Not like a biggest thing because I'd rather listen and then work on the worksheet out of class.
Yeah.
But in a way, I think that it'll be good and it'll be a nice change of pace for things. So.
Is this your first chemistry class?
No, actually, I was originally a chemistry major, so this is my third chem class at Valpo. But my first year, I just took like a 1-semester intro class just to see if I was interested in it, and I was like, oh, this is great. Like I like it a lot. Then last year I just took like the full year general chemistry class, and then I like got more into it and saw a lot more about it. And like the first class really didn't touch on a lot. Yeah. And I was just kind of thinking about my future, and I was like, I don't really like this, so I'm going to, look into other things. So I did that, and then I'm just taking organic this year just to get a minor in it, so that if I ever want to go back, I can.
Okay, that's cool. So then what is your actual major?
Well, my major now is social work, which I'm like super excited for. We just started classes up. I have 3 in a row, so it's really difficult just to like keep everything straight and like figuring out time management for it because it is a lot of like work. But it's not like difficult work. It's just like it's really just like getting to know yourself better too. But it's just something I'm not used to, and I have to like kind of get in that mindset that I have more work outside of class, not just like studying for an exam and cramming. So I like it so far though. So it's been a really good change so far.
That's cool. So what made you want to change your major to social work?
Well, I wasn't super like interested in chem, but I decided to give it a shot since my parents really were pushing like the medical field profession. So I was like, okay, I can work in like pharmacy, so I'm still in the hospital, but not directly like being a doctor, because I don't want to have like, I didn't want to deal with like the whole, messing up with a patient, like something that major. And I definitely wanted to do something to impact people and like help people. So I was looking at majors for a long time. I looked at all these different options, and then I was like, came across social work, and there are so many different like directions you can go. So I'm not exactly sure what I want to do. I want something with kids. Okay. And I'm not sure where that'll go, but I have some time to figure it out. So just kind of going with the flow right now.
What made you decide that you definitely want to work with kids?
Well, my youngest brother, when I was in high school, he had passed away in the hospital. He was born prematurely. He was like 6 months old, a little less than 6 months. So I was in there, and like my mom and dad were in there like every single day, before work, after work. Like it was in Hershey, so it was about an hour and a half from my house, because I'm from Pennsylvania, so it was a little ways away. So they would drive down and stay like in Hershey at a charity house, like a Ronald McDonald House, which like hosts people kids are in the hospital. So they'd be in there every morning and night. And I went to a boarding school for high school, so I wasn't around, so I felt really bad, and I tried to come as much as I could, but it was really difficult. But like there were so many other, like I was just there on the weekends, and there were so many other kids in there that had no parents ever like come in. Like when I was there, I saw so many kids like just not have any parents come in and visit, or anyone to talk to, like just sit there with them, even though like they're so little, but they still need that love and support. So I decided that like I wanted something to help those kids. So the social work, there was a social worker that came in and worked with us, but they were also looking like to help those kids because they all had they were going to have special needs because they were born to like drug addicts or alcoholics, and like some of their parents were like in jail and stuff like that, or in prison. So there were so many kids that were just alone, and they're going to face the world with like these struggles and difficulties that they didn't get to like choose. So I just wanted to like do something about them. So he kind of like influenced that. So that's kind of why I'm going to work with kids. But I don't know about that little, but I definitely want kids.
That's cool. So you said you went to boarding school. How did you make that decision, or was that like your parents decided that?
Well, my boarding school that I went to is Mercersburg Academy, and it's about 45 minutes, an hour from my house, so it's not far at all. So my first year, I had decided to go. I'll just back up first. Originally, I just did gymnastics, and one of my best friends from the gym, she always went to private school, and it's Catholic school and only goes to 8th grade. So she was looking at boarding schools and stuff, and there are 2 in the area that are like local but not too far, so we could still do gymnastics and whatnot. So she went in 8th grade to St. James because they have a school in 8th grade. But then I didn't go 8th grade, and I was like, she really liked it. So I was like, I'm going to look for it at school. So I went to Mercersburg, which starts at 9th grade, because I fell in love with it. I wasn't really a big fan of her school. It was very, very, very strict. You had to, wear a blazer every day. We had a dress code, but not to that extent. Their dorms were super strict. You could only go into your dorm, where at Mercersburg, you could go into any of the girls' dorms and boys go into the boys' dorms. And on weekends, there were, visitation hours and stuff like that. So it was, structured, but a little more laid back. So I really liked that aspect of it, and I just, fell in love with it when I went. But my first year there, I did not live there. I commuted.
Okay.
But it was such a long way, and it was difficult. So then I eventually decided to live on campus, but I could still come home on the weekend, and my parents always came and took me to gymnastics and stuff. So I got to see them every day because it was on my dad's way, on his way home from work.
Okay.
So it was good. I liked it, and it was a really good experience because it definitely prepared me for college.
Yeah.
It's just you learn to live on your own, but it's still structured. Your freshman year, if you live there, you have study hours. Sophomore year, your study hours are in your own room, but your door has to be open, and your computer screen has to be facing the whole hall. They don't check it every constantly. They're not really, really strict, but they just want to enforce that you're supposed to be getting your work done for this little bit amount of time. And they'd walk down the hall, and then we had lights out at specific times, so they make sure you were getting to bed. So freshman year it's 10:30, sophomore year it's 10:45. Junior 10:45 or 11, it depended on the dorm and the teachers and whatnot. And then junior year it's 11, and senior year you just had to be in your room by 11:30. This is only for weeknights, but you had to be in your room by 11:30. But lights didn't have to be out or anything. You could just be hanging out or whatnot. But there wasn't any cable, and the internet did shut off at midnight, and it turns back on at 5 a.m. Okay. So if you do want to get up and work out or get up and do your homework and stuff, you can. Yeah. But it's just kind of a way to keep people more focused on what they're supposed to be doing. So it was just a really good experience all around, and it really taught me a lot of time management, and all of our classes were spread out. They weren't all together, and if we had a free period, it wasn't just study hall. We could go back to our room, we could go to the gym, we could do anything. So it was a really good college prep experience, except we didn't have the whole college town. There's the only things in town, there was a dollar store if you needed need extra toiletries, and there's a couple pizza places, a Chinese takeout place, McDonald's, and then there was 2 or 3 nicer local restaurants. Yeah. But other than that, there wasn't anything in town. But there were trips every weekend to Baltimore, to Inner Harbor and stuff like that, DC, New York City, there was stuff always. Some were local, just to a local Walmart and or the local outlets. But then there were others that were big. So it was a really good experience overall. And your classes were so small. I had the max I had in any class was 10 to 12. Okay. And I think my smallest class I had 3 in. Okay. Which was Spanish, which I didn't really like only having 3. But it was a good experience, and it helped a lot. Just get outside your comfort zone, and you had to talk in class. You had to have your work done, because if not, they saw exactly what you were doing and weren't doing. So that was cool.
So a lot of people get jobs in high school. Were you guys able to get a job in high school, or was it strictly no? Yeah, no, we didn't have any jobs on campus before. I think in 2002 they stopped having on campus jobs to pay for your financial aid. So before you had to clean the fitness center or wait on the tables in the dining hall and that kind of thing. But then they got rid of that, and they implemented where as a community, they wanted to make it more of a community and not have oh, these people are paying for school and these people aren't, so they need to do all of our work. Yeah. So it they changed pace, and so we all took turns waiting on tables. So we had family style meals, and one person would always go up and get the food and then take back the food at the end of the meal, and another person would always take up all your dirty plates at the end of the meal, and then all your silverware and cups just sit on a serving table in the middle between 2 tables. So yeah, there were no jobs, but everyone typically got summer jobs and that kind of thing. So I still had work experience, and I had worked, but not during the school year. Not during the school year. That's cool. And you said you're involved in gymnastics. Are you still involved with that?
No, I did gymnastics. Well, I did it since I started doing it when I don't even know how old I was. I think I was around 3, but I don't know. The Olympics were on. Yeah. Maybe I was 2. The 96 Olympics were on, so I definitely was 2. And I was sitting there watching, and they were doing all this stuff on the screen, so I started rolling across the floor saying, I want to do that, I want to do that. So then my mom was okay, the next year, when I was 3, you're allowed, once you're potty trained in 3, you're allowed to be in the Tiny Tot class. So I joined in the Tiny Tot class and did gymnastics classes through, and then I worked my way up to different classes. Then they invited me to be on the team. So in first grade I started competing, and I competed all the way through my senior year. Okay. I was about I was kind of getting tired of it about sophomore year, but, like, that's when everyone drops out, and there's not as many, like, kids in your age group, so you do better at meets, and it's just, like, it's easy, and they worked around, like, my school schedule, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to stick with it, because, like, it could be a cool, like, college sport to do.
Yeah.
So then when college time came around, I did start looking at colleges and whatnot with gymnastics, and I didn't want to compete in every event either. But I also was doing track at the time. I had started track in high school, and that just kind of pulled me in that direction, so I kind of got away from gymnastics.
So are you playing track now in college? Or running track?
I am. I started vaulting, pole vault. I started pole vaulting in high school my freshman year. Okay. And I only did it because we had to do, like, that's another thing about my old high school is you have to, be on a sports team or in a play after school every day from, like, there's, like, a 2-hour time slot from 4 to, like, 3:30 or 4 to 6, just to keep people busy and not just, like, doing work and going to school. So you had to and we do trimesters, so you had to do, like, 3 sports or, like, a sport and 2 plays or different things or, like, community service. Like, there are different options for after school. So they let me count gymnastics as one of mine, but I still had to do a winter and a spring sport. Okay. So I do gymnastics in the fall as my fall sport. So I picked up on pole vaulting because, like, all the girls in the gym who were older than me all had pole vaulted in high school also, and I was like, you know what, I want to be like them, like I always did, you know. So I decided to start pole vaulting, and I did terrible my first year. We didn't have an actual coach. Like, the pastor of our school, he coached because he did jump in college and in high school, but just, like, he wasn't great, but he was an awesome guy, and, like, he tried his best. And then there was an upperclassman who actually is neighbors, like, not neighbors, but lives in the same town as me, so it was really cool. And he also jumped in college, so we still talk all the time, and he just graduated, but he set a bunch of school records. So it's really cool to, like, see each other grow, and we still, like, coach each other even from a distance and stuff like that. But, yeah, he got me involved, and I didn't clear a single bar my first year. And I was really just, like, upset. I was like, I don't want to do this. Yeah. But then I still somehow got a varsity letter because I was technically a starter, so I got to go to every meet. So I got a varsity letter. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try again. The next year, I set a school record, which our school record was really low because women's pole vault in high school, I think it started in public schools earlier, but in private schools it wasn't really a thing until, like, I don't know, like, the late 80s, maybe early 90s. I'm not exactly sure on the date. But, so I did that. And I set a school record, and I only beat it by 1 inch. So then I still beat it. So then the next year, I decided to do indoor track and outdoor track. So indoor track, I set a school record, and outdoor track, I had set a school record. And then same with my senior year, I set a school record. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start looking at school. So I just, like, since I wasn't, like, private schools aren't looked at as much for, like, sports and stuff. Like, you sometimes, it depends on the sport, but you have to send things out a little more. So, like, I sent things to a bunch of schools, and then eventually sent some to Valpo and got in contact with a coach and decided to come here and so I could jump and, you know, had a lot of other good opportunities.
That's cool. So are you involved in anything else on campus?
I'm also involved in a sorority. Okay. I'm a Kappa Delta, so that has been, like, a really cool experience too. It's really hard to do, like, with sports and with school. Yeah. So it's really hard with time management, like, scheduling is such a big thing, but it's been fun and rewarding, so I like it a lot.
That's cool. So how did you decide to be a Kappa Delta?
Well, I wasn't really sure if I even wanted to join a sorority, but my mom was pushing it because she went here and she was like, the biggest thing I regret is not joining a sorority. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll go to, like, formal recruitment because as a freshman you have to go through formal. Okay. And I wasn't really keen on it, but I couldn't travel to the meet because I had just gotten hurt the day before our first meet, so I didn't get to compete yet all year, and I was, like, really down. I was like, you know, what if I actually, like, can't compete for, you know, if I, like, get hurt in college and can't do anything, like, I just won't know anyone because, like, the only people I know are people on my sports team. Yeah. So I went through recruitment, and I, like, wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I was, like, I had my mind set on one. But then I came to Kappa Delta, and the first couple of nights I wasn't really sure, but then on prep night, I guess, loved it. Like, I was talking to an upperclassman, Colleen, who also was a social work major, but I didn't know that at the time because I wasn't really interested in social work. So, like, we got talking and we connected really well, and then I, like, at the end, I would, like, it just felt like home, and then I was, like, talking to her, and I was like, I'm sorry I'm so spacey, like, I have a date tonight, too, so I had, like, this preference night thing, which was, like, super big deal for recruitment, and then I also had a first date. Like, I have never been on, like, a real date, because in high school we couldn't go on, like, real dates because, like, how the rules were and everything was really hard. Yeah. So I went on, like, my first real date that night, too, so I was, like, freaking out, and then the next day was bid day, and I got a bid to Kappa Delta, and then as soon as I, like, went and saw Colleen, she's like, oh my goodness, who'd you have a date with last night, like, I really want to know, and, like, I told her, and then they're actually best friends, too, from, like, freshman year, so it was really cool just to, like, have all that connections, and it just felt, like, right, and it felt, like, at home, so, like, she was, like, a really big part of my decision, and she's someone I totally, like, didn't have any clue of, like, who she was, but another sorority, I knew everyone, but I just didn't feel right there. It was really awkward, and, like, couldn't talk to them, didn't have anything in common, so that was, like, the cool thing about Kappa Delta. And I like Kappa Delta because it is, like, so diverse, and there are so many different types of people. It's not just, like, one set, like, this is, you fit as, as a Kappa Delta, you fit as this. So, no, I like that about it.
Cool. So then how did your date go that night?
It went really well. I was really nervous, and, like, I don't really even like steak that much, but I had ordered one because we went to a steak place, and there wasn't, like, really anything but, like, steak or, like, seafood, like, I didn't know what half the things were on the menu, like, I was like, okay, and this is great, so, yeah, and, it was good, though, it was really fun, and it was, like, we went to Kelsey's, so it had, like, a 3-course meal, or whatever, so it was just, like, it felt like we were there forever, and I was just, like, anxious and everything, but then we came back and watched the movie, and, like, everything felt fine then, and whatnot, so it was a good date, but.
That's cool. Let's see, so are you close with your family since, like, I mean, during high school you didn't, like, live with them, but are you still close with them now?
Well, like, I wasn't really, like, super close with them ever, like, I don't know, I mean, I was close, but never, like, I'm not, like, gonna go and talk to my mom about everything, like, when I was younger, I would never, but then I think when everything happened with, like, Logan in the hospital and them, and that kind of thing, I think that definitely pulled us closer as a family, and whatnot, so I definitely think that's when we started talking more, and, like, now I make sure I call or at least text my parents every day just to say hi, like, how's everything going, like, so I feel like we have grown a lot closer because of that, so, and I am pretty close to them, and my brother, I mean, we have our days since he's younger than me, we kind of butt heads sometimes, but, we definitely are pretty close, I'd say, so, you know, it's nice to have him.
That's cool. Let's see, so if you could have just one day to do whatever you wanted, what would you do in that day?
This is a good one. I'd actually love to go back down to Belize. I know it would take half my day to fly there, but I went there on a mission trip a couple of years ago with my church, but we went and stayed at an orphanage and, like, worked with kids and everything, and, like, I just want to go back and see the kids because I know some people from our church have continued to go back, but with being at school and, like, not being involved as much at church, haven't been able to go. So I really want to go back and just see, like, what all has changed and how the kids have grown and everything, because when I went there, like, most of them are just getting into the orphanage, so I want to see how they have grown and, like, how everything's impacted them, so I really want to go there for a day if I could.
That would be cool. And you've been talking about church a lot. How has your church influenced you in your life?
I've been really, like, I've always grown up in a church family, like, it was just kind of, like, assumed that, you know, you'd be part of one and everything. So I got involved with the youth group when I got a little older, and one of my best friends is the pastor's daughter, so she was super involved too. And we're still really close now. She's a year older than me in school, but we've been really close. And then I, like, started getting involved, and I want to go on a mission trip with, like, the youth group. So I went to Mexico, and this is actually, it's kind of sad, but it's kind of, I don't know, it was a good story too. So my first mission trip was to Mexico, and then that was when Logan was in the hospital, and he was doing really well at the time, so I went. Everyone's like, oh, he'll be fine, like, you have nothing to worry about. So I went, and then he had passed away when I was in Mexico, so my parents had called, well, the pastor and his wife were at the hospital with my parents, and I was with their daughter, and they had called, a couple of the people had phones that could work in Mexico, like, we made sure we had a couple just in case there were anything, since we were in rural Mexico, like, you don't know what could happen. This was in 2010. They called, and I had to say goodbye to him on the phone, and, like, it was just really hard, but, like, it was nice to have the church there, like, all the people I'm really close with in the church, like, supporting me and everything, and, like, they held the funeral and everything till we got back, so it was, like, halfway through the week, so, but it was just hard, and it felt so surreal because I wasn't here, but then, and when I got back, even, like, it still feels like he's in the hospital because I wasn't there, like, holding him when he died, like, all the rest of my family, so I feel bad in that aspect, like, especially with my brother, because he was there, and it's really changed him a lot, so, that's definitely something, but, like, just the church as a whole, like, my parents teach them to school every week, first or second grade, depends every year, it kind of changes or if they're combined or whatnot, depending on number, so I'm always, like, I always help when I'm home and everything, and I love it, and there's no, like, college age group class, so I really wanted to start one, but I'm not there enough either, because of, like, summer jobs and this and that, so, I just help teach and then go to church, and I really like it, so I still connect it, but I feel like at school I'm not connected at all, because with track and everything, Sunday's my only day to sleep in and do homework, so I don't go to church, and then Wednesday nights are Celebrate, which I would love to go to, but at the time it is, I'm already ready for bed, so I'm like haven't had a chance to like really get involved here. So I was in a Bible study my first year, but just once I joined a sorority and everything, that kind of like fell through. So it is still a big part of my life, but it's not like, I guess it's not like noticed unless like I talk about it. Like people aren't gonna be like, oh, she goes to church every week. But, that's just how it is. So
that's cool. Let's see. What are 3 of your best qualities?
My 3 best qualities probably would be like honesty. Like I'm very honest, and that's like a big part of who I am. Like I cannot stand people who are like not honest or fake. And then loyalty. Like I'm very very loyal to people, and like if they ask me to do something or like expect me not to say anything, like I won't. And my 3rd would probably be like organization. I'm very organized and like on top of things with everything on my plate. Like I kind of have to be. So that's kind of like my 3 best traits, I would say.
Yeah.
But
okay, so then what are 3 qualities that you would like to improve?
I guess this one probably sounds weird, but I want to become like more social just with other things because I feel like I'm always so like consumed between school, track, and not even really with the sorority. Like I don't do that much with them, so like I kind of want to be able to be more social with like the sorority, but also my other friends who aren't in track or the sorority. So just to hang out with everyone more, but it's just really difficult with everything. So that's definitely something to be more social. Another would probably be just listening. I have a really bad issue with like cutting people off as they're talking, like finishing their sentences and stuff, and like I don't know, my boyfriend gets really mad at me when I cut him off. He'll just like stop talking to me if I cut him off. So I'm working on that. And my 3rd, I guess it's just like, I don't know, staying on top of everything. Like I'm very organized, but I still like procrastinate a little bit just because like I'm like, oh, I'll do it this time, and then something else comes up. So I guess working ahead and being as proactive as I can instead of waiting a little would be like 3 of my worst qualities.
Okay. Let's see. What is one of the most important things to you, like in life, like an object or a person or like a memory? But what is like the one thing that you hold really close?
I guess now it would be like Logan. Like he's kind of like the big thing and like why I've been like doing what I'm doing. But before that, like, or if like not him because he's been my answer for a lot of things. I don't know. I guess just like probably like family. They're definitely like there, and like they're always there for each other, and I don't know, pick you up when you're down and everything. So like family is like a really big thing too for me.
Are you close to your like extended family, or is it mainly just like your immediate family?
My family is not like that big, so it's a little difficult, and I have like cousins that live in Indonesia, so it's really hard to like be connected with everyone all the time. But my like grandparents are like, well, to my dad's side, they both are deceased, but my mom's side, they're like my second parents. Like if we ever need anything, we always go and see them. And like at our house, we only have 3 cars, so whenever I need to drive, like I can take one of theirs because they don't drive, both of them, and like just a bunch of things. Like they're always there, and they're like I had surgery over the summer, and they always like came over every day and brought me lunch, even if I didn't want to see them. And then they'd sit there and fall asleep in the chair, and they'd be there for 5 hours sleeping. And I'm like, okay, this is really fun. But no, they're a huge part of my life. So they're definitely probably the closest. But like I have cousins and stuff too that we're close with, just not like super close with. We were a lot closer when we were younger, but now that we've all like are grown up, that's been one thing. On my other side though, I have 3 baby cousins, so they're like 2, 3, and 5. So they're not quite at the age yet either where they can like connect a relationship. But I definitely like hang out with them a lot when I see them and play games with them. So I don't know, it's a different thing on both sides. But overall, we're fairly close as a family.
That's cool. Okay, well, it was good getting to know you, and I can't wait to get to know you some more.
All right.